Yeah, I mean, it's been an exciting time. I arrived in August 2014, which was just suddenly about to become one of the most interesting times politically in quite a while in Hong Kong. I think both Hong Kong and Macau are just places that certain features of the place change very quickly. That doesn't mean that the underlying society changes necessarily at the same speed. There are certainly internationally traded services in both places which are world class. We can see the transformation as that begins to filter out to the broader society. I think one of the things that really has impressed me the most, I would say, is the work ethic that's here. I know everybody says it, but you could take it from me. I came from New York, where the work ethic is pretty strong too, and nothing would prepare you for the work ethic here in Hong Kong and in Macau. I think one of the reasons why the government decided to open a consulate to Hong Kong and Macau just 3 years ago now is precisely for that reason, to further deepen and expand our links in the region and in the Greater Bay Area. We're fortunate that we have a very active Irish community in Hong Kong, about 5,000 or 6,000 people. In Macau, a smaller community, but still a very dynamic and influential community of less than 50 people. And we have Irish professionals working in Shenzhen right across southern China. There are links already with a lot of the Chinese technology companies, as you would expect. Huawei have their European Research and Development Centre in Ireland, and many of the other companies that are active there have operations in Ireland also. And we see this when you're talking about recruitment and so on. We're a very open, globalised economy. 90% of everything we produce is exported. So therefore we see this as a win-win. The more collaboration that we can encourage, the better. And part of my role here is to make sure that people are kept abreast of the opportunities and to help people when they arrive on the ground by connecting them to our network and also using events like the regional tourism events and the regional innovation events that are held in Macau and also in Hong Kong, using them as a platform to connect some Irish companies to some of their counterparts in the Greater Bay Area. Our traditional markets for tourism have been Europe and Britain, our next door neighbour, and Europe and then North America. And our tourism levels are at the highest level they've ever been, particularly I would say from the US and from Canada. We have direct flight connectivity to Europe and to North America. And I suppose the exciting news for us is that from next June, we'll have our first ever direct flight to Asia, which will be by Cathay Pacific from Hong Kong to Dublin. It'll be 4 times a week, and that'll bring about 70,000 visitors in each direction. We're just trying to build people-to-people contacts and links, and to build understanding in Ireland about Macau and the fact that it's different to other parts of China. And while it's part of our overall China strategy, there are features to life here that make it very special. As somebody said to me last week, you know, this is the most European place in China. So it is a place where European visitors feel really comfortable, and it has that mix of the old and the new. And I know it sounds like a cliche, but there's something very special about that. And we are fortunate that we also have links through our missionaries in Macau. So that's a very important part of the story that we tell also, that we're not just here to do business, that we're here to really try to build cultural links and educational links. And we're very fortunate with the response that we've got for that so far. So obviously we have a reputation as a green island and as a clean island. We're the largest net exporter in the Northern Hemisphere of beef. And when you think about the countries that are in the Northern Hemisphere, it's a pretty astounding statistic that Ireland exports more beef than them. And we are in the process of finalising with the Chinese authorities the re-entry into China of Irish beef. At the moment we sell a lot of beef into Hong Kong, we sell a lot of beef into here in Macau, and beef is something that's just really associated with Ireland. Our farming background and our society is based on agriculture essentially. We have a family farm dominated sector, which is also quite unusual in the world. The average number of cattle on an Irish farm is just 20. So this is a very special part of our society and of our economy. And we produce, in addition to a lot of dairy products that are globally renowned, we produce about 20% of all of the infant milk formula in the world. So every second or third shop in Macau is selling milk formula that comes from Ireland, from Irish farms, and the leading product in the leading milk powder in China is made 100% in Ireland, was developed in Ireland, and there's 600 people directly employed in the production of that, and many thousands more through the farming families that provide milk to that plant. Well, we have a large international technology base in Ireland, so most of the leading technology companies in the world have their European, Middle East and African headquarters in Ireland. So people like Google, for example, have 6,000 people in Ireland. People like Facebook have 5,000 or 6,000 people. Apple have been in Ireland for more than 30 years. So one of the more surprising products might be the fact that a lot of ICT services and software comes from Ireland. So for most of the last 20 years, Ireland was the largest producer of packaged software on the planet. So when you think of out of 193 countries around the world, Ireland was the one that was producing the most software. So we have some really interesting spin-offs from that. So for example, when you go to a casino in Macau, or you go to a hotel in Macau or in Hong Kong, the transaction that you make on your credit card is all managed by an Irish company, an Irish startup company, which started up in somebody's back garden and is now a global player. And we have about 3 or 4 companies in that sector. We have companies that do security software. We have companies that do airline booking software. We're really a world leader, I suppose, in technology and innovation. We're ranked number 7 in the world by the United Nations as a society for innovation. And this year we'll have again for the third year in succession, we'll be the fastest growing economy in the European Union. And technology and innovation is a big part of that. So that's not always something that people associate with Ireland, but it is something certainly that the Chinese have a very high level of awareness of. And under the 13th 5-year plan, innovation and technology was something that was highlighted by the Chinese leadership as areas where they could collaborate with Ireland. I think Ireland we are very disappointed that the British voted to leave. We respect that decision, and we're going to do our utmost to ensure that the relationship that we've built with Britain in recent decades in particular continues to be as close and as good and as warm as it is now. I think Ireland is well placed to benefit from some of the opportunities that will arise through Brexit. There are other areas of our economy and society that will suffer because of Brexit or are in an uncertain space presently. In the financial services sector in particular, we're already seeing an array of the world's leading financial institutions either increasing their footprint in Ireland that they already have, or looking to base their European hubs there. That may mean in some cases very small numbers of people coming. Ireland will never be a financial centre to equal Hong Kong or London for that matter. But what we are is that we're very specialised in certain niche areas. So in aviation finance, for example, 10 of the top 10 leading aviation finance companies in the world, 3 or 4 of which are Chinese, all have their European operations in Ireland. We're the hedge fund management centre of the world. About 60% of all the hedge funds in the world are managed from Dublin. And the numbers of jobs in that is very important for us. And also the fact that it's part of an ecosystem for us, from which we've spawned our fintech industry, from which we've spawned a whole bunch of Irish startups that are providing knowledge services to these companies, and indeed have followed these companies in some cases back to the US, and in other cases to Hong Kong. So we believe that we have more to offer in this sector. We're seeing some very interesting announcements such as Bank of America. which has said they're going to put part of the European operations hubbed from Ireland. Legal in general have said they're going to open an operation. But I think in the long term, it's in everybody's interests that we continue to work very closely with Britain following Brexit. That's certainly very much on our agenda. I think the Irish approach to it has been very positive. Certainly our Prime Minister has indicated our readiness and our interest in collaborating if we can. We're never going to have the large-scale infrastructural projects that other member states may have. But that's not to say that there aren't very interesting features on the Irish side. So for example, they talk about a total sum of money of 5 trillion being the amount that's required to implement the ambitious projects under One Belt, One Road. 5 trillion is the amount of money that's under management in Ireland by the hedge fund businesses. So our guys in Ireland are running international deals, financing deals right across the planet from Dublin. They're always looking for investment opportunities and for opportunities also beyond them in the sector that we have. So I'd be very confident that Ireland will be able to play a small but perhaps a little unique role in that. Ireland has joined the Asian Infrastructural Bank, Investment Bank, AIIB. We're an active member of the Asia Development Bank. We have a colleague based in the Asia Development Bank in Manila. So we do have some companies that are very experienced in working on projects internationally. We welcome the One Belt, One Road initiative and anything that will improve integration of supply chains and help access to markets in both directions has been good for us. Our European Union experience when we joined in 1973, we were probably the poorest, if not one of the poorest members of the European Union, and we've seen transformation of our economy and society in that time, and we believe that the One Belt, One Road can offer that opportunity for transformation to so many other countries that are involved in that. Nothing ever happens at the speed that we'd like it to happen. And I think when you look at the level of ambition that there is in Macau, it's not something that you can just say overnight, look, we'll have this new piece of infrastructure, it'll be in place in a year or two. You can take it from me in Ireland, we know from our experience that when you're trying to go from an agricultural society to an innovative, technology-friendly society, that's not without its difficulties. So I'd have a lot of sympathy, I think, with some of the policy makers and the challenges they've had to face. And I think one of the main things that I take with me every day, if you like, is the necessity, if you like, to make sure that we look at global best practice. It's a real issue that we have in our DNA in Ireland. The first thing we do before we do anything is we look who else has done this, how have they done it, what are the lessons we can learn from it. And that's one of the great experiences of the European Union for us, that before we do anything, we benchmark ourselves and we look at what others are doing. And I think that's it's good to see that that's also practiced here in this part of the world. And I think one of the things that we would love to see, and I would love to see for my last 12 months in the role, is to see more visitors in the other direction. And I know that there's a capacity issue. There's 6 million of us in Ireland compared to 500,000 people here, I know that. But notwithstanding that, we would love to see more university students consider coming to Ireland. We'd love to see more exchange programs if we can. We've worked very closely with the European Studies program here, and we've worked very closely with Professor Kit Thompson and his team, and they're doing fantastic work. And we're really keen to remind them and to remind our Macanese students that the door is open to them in Ireland. It's a very straightforward place to come to visit. It's 1 hour from London at the moment by airplane, and that's the second busiest air route in the world. From next June you can come direct from Hong Kong to Dublin, arriving in at 6:45 in the morning and doing your business that day. So, and we are delighted, of course, that we have quite a large Portuguese community, as you would expect in Ireland also. And in fact, there's very few countries in the world that don't have some sort of community in Ireland, such as the rapid rate of change. 20 years ago, 90% of people in Ireland had been born in the island of Ireland. At the moment, that's a lot less than that, and we're seeing more and more young people from around the world wanting to come and study for a while, work for a while, and just spend some time there. And maybe you'll see Bono if you get there on the right day.